and founder, I'm hoping you're the founder because I plugged that anyway, of Downtime Visuals, and the IT and an IT consultant for ETG, um, ETG, the Elite Tournament Gaming. Tony Ramos, how are you
What's up?
today?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good. I feel like we haven't spoken since
Like
that
2015, 2016? It's been a
that
while.
yeah that tournament, that the local in I forgot what city that was.
It was
It was
Nanuet, New York. It was ETG 12.
yeah, that was both the beginning and the last time, the first and last time we probably saw each other in person. um but yeah, that was a while ago. That was a fun event.
Yeah, it was a great
um
event.
yeah, so you've done quite a bit since then. I've seen over social media and things, and we'll get into that throughout. um but something I want to start, or I've been starting my podcast with, is what was your first encounter with like the esports community? Not necessarily working for it, but like what was the first thing that you kind of that it drew you to esports?
So I was always in love with Call of Duty and the idea behind competitive video games. And for as long as I can really remember, I've just been obsessed with competing and trying to show everyone that I'm better. And then I started competing and realized I wasn't better. So it was really easy to just work in the esports industry because I had a background in videography and production. So I hit up ETG. I ran all of their videography for a little bit. Eventually, they partnered with MES, so they picked me up too. And then from there, I started my own production team. So that's what I've been doing part time right now.
Cool. So when I met you at ETG 12, um, what, how long into, or how far into your career were you?
At that point, I was probably a little bit over a year.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that event was just completely insane. I didn't really know who anyone was, especially
Yeah.
you. I had you hold a G Fuel cup for me.
I mean, I was, and I'm still not really much of anything, but I was just a guy trying to fill my G Fuel cup. uh, but so how old are you now?
I'm 18.
So you're 18. So what were you, 15
14 or
then?
15, yeah, at the time.
Oh my goodness, man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that interaction. It was just, oh, could you do that again? But could you point the G Fuel logo towards my camera? That was so funny.
That shot
Uh,
to this day is one of my favorite shots, just the way the light was bouncing off the G Fuel cup and everything.
really?
Yeah, every time I submit my portfolio anywhere, that's one of the key shots that I have in it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's cool. Do I get royalties for
Not yet.
that? Not yet. Okay. Um, yeah. So was that your first event with ETG also?
That was my second ETG event. It was my first event working for ETG.
Okay. So so they brought you on to do what, all the photography and videography, or just kind of, what was that initial? How did that initially start? Actually, you know what? Let's back up. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let's go back into history a little bit. What? Why did you pick up the camera the first time?
My dad, when I was younger, was somebody who filmed everything. He had a really expensive camera. He just loved seeing everything that we were doing, and
Uh
so
huh.
I kind of fell in love with the way that things looked on a screen and the way that light bounced off of things. So I went on YouTube. I went on eBay. I bought a camera. I started studying broadcast in the high school I was going to and everything, and I just kind of fell in love with showing everyone what I can do and showing everyone what I've been able to see throughout all the different industries that I've been in. And so I've just been obsessed ever since.
And roughly what age was that
When I
that
first
you started?
started,
Yeah.
probably 8 or 9, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was really young. I My dad had a camera that still shot on cassettes, and so
Oh
I
wow.
I would shoot on that every once in a while. I would go out to the little store that's near our house and buy more cassettes. That way, I could just keep filming on them.
Right. What was So what was like your favorite thing to shoot or record?
When I was younger, I was really into skateboarding, and the town I'm in
Ah,
isn't really like a skateboarding town. There's a lot of hills and there's not too much to do, but that just kind of made it more fun because there was a lot of people just wiping out and not really knowing what they're doing.
right.
So we would go to local parks and everything like that, and I'd film all of my friends just skateboarding, and I'd film myself just eating it, and it was a great time.
That's funny. If when I when I was younger, I had a friend who was and still is very very into the skateboard culture and skates a lot. Um, and whenever we could get our hands on a camera, I was the guy that held the camera, and because I always wiped out. I was terrible. And I wish I stuck with that a little bit more, and kind of built that passion because now I do like a lot of photography just in my free time, just because I enjoy it. It's like an escape. Um, but I wish I started back then. But hindsight's 2020, I guess. But so how did you progress? So you did um skate related videos and I'm sure some type of photography. What made you or how involved do you get with just regular photography, or are you kind of strictly video?
Um, as of recently, I've gotten really into photography because it's really easy to show people what you're doing in a video, but
Yeah,
a picture you've got one frame, so
right.
you've got to make sure you encapsulate everything, and you got to make sure that whatever you want to get across gets across. And
Yeah.
little known fact, I the first ever time I bought a DSLR, you're the one who showed me how aperture works and ISO worked, and you sent me this diagram explaining everything. That way, I'd better understand it. I don't think anybody in the industry knows that, and that's one of the reasons why I look up to you in Sector Six as much as I do, because that was the stepping stone into really getting me to know and understand what my equipment does and how it works. So
Wow. I don't I don't know if I didn't realize that at the time, or but this is I mean this is the first time I've heard that out loud. So that's pretty cool. Um yeah. What do you so what do you shoot now? This is an
so
important question for everybody
I'm
who's brand oriented.
right now I'm very close to the New York City sunset. I mean, skyline.
Okay.
So if I if I walk out my bedroom door, I can see the skyline. I had originally had a really cheap Canon DSLR, and trying to get the skyline at nighttime, those
Not
things
happening. Yeah.
not happening at all. So
Yeah.
my buddy who I work with, who actually is one of my employees in my company, and we own an office together in our town and everything. He got a GH5, so that's what we've been shooting on the most.
Oh, I think I like the GH5. Okay. Um, do you have your own camera, or do you just kind of do like with work
I
or
have a
with
7D
with your
Mark II,
Okay.
but I don't really get to utilize it as much because most of the time
Yeah.
we're using his. So
Yeah. So if you could build out your own rig, which money is not an option, what would it be?
I'm in love with the A7R III. It's
Yeah.
just such a beautiful camera, and
Yes.
it's lightweight in comparison. My 7D is just a monster, and it's heavy to hold for a long time. It doesn't really
Yeah.
fit on our Ronin or on my Zion Crane or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that's like my dream camera right now.
When at the event that we met, I had an A6000 with I think the kit lenses at the time, and I loved it. It was my first. I mean, it's a mirrorless, but first DSLR like interchangeable lens style camera, and I was for whatever reason I just fell in love with the Sony brand as a whole, and then the A7. I never wanted to spend the money on the A7R III, but the A7 III came out. However, whatever time it came out, and then I saw it was on sale, and I impulse bought the hell out of it. I love it. That is a great camera.
The Sony colorway is just a big difference in comparison. Like nothing really compares to it at all. It's a little bit colder, but everything just looks so beautiful. There's
Yeah,
nice bright blues, and it really captures the colors the right way.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Unfortunately, I probably don't know near as much now about everything that goes into a camera, or I probably didn't know as much as you ever, aside from aperture. Um, but I I am a big a huge fault in my photography is that I don't know enough, and I'm kind of still learning as I go. But I guess that's how it is with everything.
You know what, man? There's never a point where anyone ever knows everything about what they're going to be doing. So, like, one thing that has really like brought me above anyone else that I've really tried to work with is I know I don't know everything, but I know I can work harder than anybody else that I'm trying to really compete against. So if I grab my camera and I just get as many shots as possible, that'll make up for the little bit of knowledge that I'm lacking in comparison.
I I agree with that statement to no end. That's kind of how we operate here. Um, we Sector 6 started with two people who knew, absolutely nothing about merchandise and apparel. So, it's all about the hustle is really all it is, and retaining information over time and things like that. Um,
There's
yeah,
a special willingness to learn that it takes to own a company, and that's one thing I've been able to realize really fast. And it's not just learning what you're doing; it's learning to work with people and learning how to utilize all of your equipment to the most of its ability.
yeah,
And like you have to have the willingness to learn to be able to progress and to be able to keep moving forward. So the people who think they know everything are already at a standstill just from day one, you know?
exactly. Yeah, 100%. And you see that. I mean, I'm sure you see it in any industry, but it's something that like I see every day. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. Um, cool. So I guess past the origin story of how you got involved with photography and and videography as a whole. Um, so was the ETG event that I met you at, was that your first esports gig, or had you been doing stuff prior to that?
That was my third, I believe. I was doing like I would hit up teams and be like, "Listen, I'll make this ad for you for this, or you send me a shaker cup and I'll do this entire thing." So I think I had done one weird energy drink company that like nobody really knew about before that, and then I had worked
Yeah.
with some team making like a little reel for them.
Okay. What was that experience like for you? You did these for free?
The team, I think it was like $5. Like it was dirt
Okay.
cheap just so that I could pay for like the subscription for whatever I was paying for, whatever I was using at the time. I think I was using some weird sketchy media player at the time that
Yeah.
nobody's ever really heard of. But my story is really similar to the gentleman that you interviewed the first time. Is like I would just charge dirt cheap just to get the experience and just to do it. But then like looking back at those things now, I feel disappointed that I even charged $5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think at the time, if somebody's willing to pay for it, understanding that, I think that the good thing about the esports community is that at the time, I don't know when that was for you, but in the early stages of it, like everybody knew, everybody's still kind of learning the process, like what works in esports, what doesn't. So you might be a well versed creator or producer or whatever your title is in a different industry, but when you come into esports and you don't know what's going to click, it's a learning experience for everybody. So I'm sure that a lot of those factors came into play when everybody was either exchanging um, work for each other, or working for other people, and things like that. But I think I wouldn't feel too bad about it. It was definitely good for you for experience.
It was definitely a big learning curve because the esports industry is always like very loud music and like dubsteppy things, and then
Right.
some teams want something totally different or something just doesn't fit the brand the right way, and then you got to redo a whole edit with a different song. It's just a lot of jumps back and forth, but that's one of the
Yeah.
things that you really learn to love about the industry is everyone has a different taste and everyone has a different flavor for exactly what they want to have represent their brand,
Right.
and no two brands are going to be exactly the same when it comes down to that. Even just from like MES and ETG that I've worked with, they both have very different styles when it comes to their graphics and what advertisement they like to throw up and stuff like that. So
Of course. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um. So so how did you end up landing to work with ETG? Did you just send them your work with those first two clients that you had, or did you just reach out, or like how did that process go?
I just reached out to Ryan personally and I said, listen,
Yeah.
man, I really want to shoot this event. I'll do this for you. I'll come and volunteer and help set up if that means you'll let me in to shoot. And I just really clicked with everyone from ETG really fast. Unfortunately, one of the people that I got along with really well passed away. Um, his name was Daniel Frontera. He worked for ESL. He passed away a little bit after I met him, but he's one of like the catalysts toward me wanting to work in esports because he's somebody who had just had such a drive that wasn't comparable to anybody else I've ever met to this day in
Right.
my life. So
I do remember seeing that. I don't think I unfortunately don't think I was lucky enough to meet him, but I do remember seeing that when it happened, and that was definitely terrible to see.
it was a
Um,
really rough time because
yeah,
everyone in the industry that was behind the scenes and helped run these events knew who Daniel was.
right.
He was literally the 24-hour man. The kid lived and breathed esports, and nothing else really mattered whenever he was working. And so he was the centerpiece of making our events run really smoothly and making sure that everything was exactly how it should be.
Right.
And so I'm sure he's looking down at us from somewhere, watching the growth, and just glad that we've been able to keep the brand up. So
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. Um, so after after that event, you said you clicked with everybody. How did that kind of? I'm sure you went into that as with the mindset of I'm going to shoot this event, kind of let everybody see my work, and show people I'm worth their time, and you had that mindset, I expect. And then after that, how did that kind of evolve into what you have now over there?
I shot that event with the intention of coming back to every ETG event for the rest of my life, which
Okay.
I shot that event expecting that they were going to call me back and they were going to want me. And the
Okay.
next event I worked ended up being one of the ETG and MES collaboration events where
Okay.
MES sponsored us. So I made sure I shot the MES booth and made it look really pretty. That way I would just try and branch out to their company as well.
Uh
And
huh.
I kind of, every time I shot something, I shot with the intention of building these brands and supporting these brands. That way, whenever they needed footage or whenever they needed somebody, I'd be able to help them. Um, that wasn't really limited to just ETG and MES. It was just all these smaller teams that were at the event too. I'd shoot whoever if they messaged me on Twitter and were like, "Listen, my team's playing here. Can you please just get a couple shots of us?" I would, without question, just jump to their station and make sure I got at least a couple seconds of footage for them. So
Yeah, I think that's I have that. I try to have that mindset because I try to go to events and do similar with like photography, and I would try because you never know what a good connection or potential relationship could lead to. And if it's not too far out of your way to, like you said, take a couple second clips or take a few stills of XYZ team, that team may turn around and be looking for a photographer in a couple months or whatever, and you take advantage of that opportunity because you have that rapport with them.
exactly, yeah. Especially, I've been filming Profizi and Simp since only the people in the Northeast really knew who they were, and they were the ones who were just winning every event. And now both of them are playing on main stage at all of these events and
Yep.
just going crazy. And it's
Yeah.
crazy just to see how much progression they've really made, not only like as players, but just as individuals, and seeing them grow in comparison to the footage I have from years ago. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so how did you so you did at what point did you transition over to like IT with ETG?
I went to an ETG event,
Mhm.
and I know a lot about computers for really no reason. And I ended up going to a trade school for computers, and I work for an IT department for a school right now, um, on the side of doing everything else that I'm juggling at one time.
Yeah.
So ETG had an event where the updates weren't really working, and the computers, I mean, and the PS4s wouldn't really connect to the internet. And so I just took a look at everything, and I realized that everything they were doing was kind of wrong when it came to like just basic networking and making sure the PS4s could communicate. So I set up static IPs for all the PS4s with them, and I reran all their cables. And every time one of their Ethernet cables would break, I would re-terminate it. That way, we would be able to use it instead of having to go buy another cable. And that helped increase the efficiency of setting up events a lot, uh, a lot more smoothly, I guess. So if
Right.
the setup was fast, then the day of the event is going to come by even faster. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then that just kind of led you to like your IT role. You are an IT consultant, but like, do you just watch all over the IT, or is it like how does that actually look
Well, so like if
now?
one of their PS4s break,
Okay.
then it's, "Hey, Tony, can you please fix this for us? Like, this
Okay.
is totally broken." Or if they
Yeah.
need, like, if their switches are messed up, then it's like, "Take a look at this, see if there's anything you can do, that way we don't have to buy another one." And
Okay.
so,
That
like,
makes sense.
I
The
guess,
fix it guy.
yeah, a lot of companies that don't have somebody like me to utilize, then it's like, "We gotta buy another PS4," or, "These switches are dead, we've gotta go get more switches." So I'm the one
Okay.
who really, like, de-escalates that. I'll save them money in the meantime doing that, so that's one of the reasons why they enjoy having me on board.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Um, so I guess with all everything you picked up in your experience with ETG and your freelance stuff and MES, at what point did you decide you wanted to kind of start your own brand company?
So it was actually like a really existential moment when I realized that I wanted to start my own company. I was going to college for a little bit, and I just wasn't into it. Like I couldn't do it. It was too stressful. I couldn't really put the strain on myself, and so I was having like 20-hour days studying, and I was doing this summer program, and there was just a lot of things going on at once. And so the day that I went home, I just saw all these people sitting on their phones and doing this and doing that, and I was like, "There's so much time, but everyone feels like they're running out of time." And that's how I felt. Like I had such long days, but I felt like I had no time to myself or time to do anything. And so
Right.
that's really how the name of my company started, Downtime, because
Okay.
there's so much downtime that you don't realize, that 10 minutes you're sitting on your phone, and that few seconds that you stop at Dunkin' Donuts to grab a cup of coffee or something like that. That's all time that you could be utilizing to really like focus on yourself and to make sure you build yourself as an individual or build your brand or do whatever that kind of takes up a lot of your time that you think that doesn't exist. So
Right.
I had two very motivated teammates with me. They've been to every event that I've been to running the broadcast, and they've been to the last ETG with me as well. And they kind of had the same mindset as that. There's so much time in the world, but nobody ever feels like they have any of it for themselves. And from there, we signed a lease like a week after this idea happened for an office, and we started buying all this equipment that we ended up accumulating. That way, we can just go out. Like we have a Sweet 16 coming up soon that we're shooting. There's just a lot of different things that we've been trying to move toward, just to not even really to make money or to do this, just to show other people that there's a lot of time in the world that we don't really get to utilize to ourselves. So
I like that. I like where you came up with the name. I like, the story behind it is super interesting. And I agree with a lot of people. I I know plenty of people who complain that there's not enough time in the day and are um doing those things that are taking away from that time that they have throughout the day. So I really like that. Uh so now Downtime Visuals as a whole is not esports centric. It's, kind of it's whatever. Anybody can come to you and get some work done with you guys, or
anyone can
you
come
have
to
like
us.
a
Yeah, it's not limited to esports. Like I said, we're doing a Sweet 16. We've done
yeah,
smaller advertisements for companies in the area. Um, we've been trying to get our website up, but it hasn't been working out. The hoster that we use like changes the HTML code every time I import it, and
oh,
it makes it all kind of bug out. So a lot of our booking has just been done by, hey, here's our business card, give us a call, we'll be able to fit you into our schedule, doing this, doing that.
right.
So it's kind of it's been a little bit slower than I'd like, because I feel like if I could get the website completely working, then we'd have a lot more work and we'd be able to just work with more people and show more people what we're about. But I really can't
Yeah.
complain. We've gotten this far, and like I said, we've flown to Michigan 3 times and helped MES out with their streams. We ran their entire stream for the last two events. We didn't get to make it to the most recent event, unfortunately, but
Um what oh man, I lost my train of thought here. So what is your role in the company? Obviously, you own it, but what do you do? What does your day to day look like, or on a set? What does your role look like?
so I'm gonna start by saying the roles of my guys before, because I guess this
Sure.
will bring it all together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My my employee named Billy. He's our cinematographer. Anything that involves getting a camera on set or doing anything like that, he's the one who's hands on with that. Getting the shot that needs to make this kid look like he's a superhero when he gets up to scream at the other team, and making all that work, that's all him. Then I have Zack. He's our audio tech. So anything that has to do with audio, he hops on. If we need to mic up somebody for an interview, he's the first one over there. having just to set up all the different intricacies that have to do with running an event, the headsets and getting the soundboard up and running and everything. That's all him. I'm really the one who I technical direct everything, so I switch between cameras. I throw the graphics up whenever it has to be. I design all the different graphics that we're going to have on stream, and I'm really the one who tries to troubleshoot anything because they're both doing such important roles. At least I'm the one who has hands open to this camera's not working. Why isn't it working? How can we get it up faster? So that kind of ties into the IT role thing.
Right.
Um, I just have a lot of experience with a bunch of different pieces of equipment, so I'm kind of let's get this up and running. That way we don't have any more uh, time that's getting eaten up that could be allocated toward running the event or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely like looking at it from the top down or like from an outsider's perspective. I think it definitely makes the most sense to have your dedicated guys on the most impactful roles, and then you kind of fill in the gaps. And I'm sure that that works out for you pretty well.
Yeah, we have two other people who are joining us just now. We have a girl named Caitlin. She's gonna be writing everything. So if we're doing an advertisement, she's gonna be writing out and shot listing to see how the advertisement's gonna pan out. And then we're bringing on a gentleman named Anthony who's shares my name, so it's gonna be a little bit weird in the office whenever he's like, "Hey, Anthony." Oh wait, wrong one. He's gonna be handling a lot of our editing, just
Okay,
so that we can free up more time to work on different projects with Caitlin or to just build different things. So
cool. Yeah. So when did you start this? Like when did you I guess first no, when did you start it? I don't think you covered that in the naming.
the official date was
Yeah.
November 27th, I think. That's when we filed for the LLC. A few days after that is when we signed the lease. So I believe that's like right around the exact time. Then we moved in. We brought all of our equipment over. We bought monitors. Uh, we bought a new camera. We bought as many things as we could just to get off the ground running.
So this was of 2018.
Yeah,
It's
that was very
really
recent.
recent.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh wow. And so how do you see the future? Like what do you see for the future of the brand, and like what is your maybe not end goal, but like your long-term goal of it as a whole?
We've for a long time we've always joked about starting an esports reality show because a lot of the things that go on behind the scenes are just outrageous.
Mhm.
And so that's one thing that we really want to do. I can't really go too in depth about it because there's a lot of little intricacies about it that I'm not 100% sure if it's going to happen or things like that. But
No, I hear you.
that's one thing that we really want to work towards, some type of reality show about esports and getting that off the ground and just showing people what happens behind the scenes, not only like at events, but when players are having drama. There's all this different drama that's happening all the time. So nobody really knows what's going on until you see it. Oh, this is why I left phase. This is why Optic isn't doing this. This is why this isn't happening. So we will really want to get behind the scenes and show everyone like what's really going on.
I like that a lot because I think everything in the community for the most part, unless you catch something live on a Twitch stream or something, is very sugar coated, and in some cases, it's very you know produced. I guess is a good way to word it. But that behind the scenes aspect it could shed a lot of light on what goes on, whether that's good or bad or drama filled or not. I think it just it gives everybody a better understanding of what actually goes on versus seeing what people want you to see type thing.
Exactly. And a lot of it I feel is like just completely fabricated to build drama or to bring
Yeah,
people to this is what Optic is, this is what this brand does. Um, so especially working with these different tournament hosting companies, things go down and everyone sees, oh, this event was horrible because this station didn't work or this didn't happen, but nobody knows that the internet that the venue provided went down for 8 hours and we couldn't finish the updates that popped out last second that Activision threw out the day of our event to get the station up and running. So we had to compress to smaller stations or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I think that could do really really well. I like that a lot.
I appreciate it. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah, no problem. So you're currently still in school, right?
I finished school.
Oh,
I work for a school now, which is kind of
oh,
weird for being as young as I am. I went to a trade school.
okay.
I ended up being the president of my campus, and I was the top of my class and everything.
Oh
Um,
wow, congratulations.
thank you. And then right away jumped into the industry. I needed to work because, as I said before, like my work ethic is very hands on. I just feel the need to be working 24/7, um, which is where that whole time thing fell in. I felt like I didn't have enough time to work on my own things. And so
Mm.
now I'm at the point where I'm pretty comfortable. I have time for my projects and I'm still getting paid to do my real job and everything. So
What is your real job?
uh, I am a technician for a technology department in an education facility.
Okay. So what does that look like? Similar to what you're doing at ETG, kind of like on a probably on a slightly bigger scale, but like fixing issues and like being
Yeah,
the
if
on-call tech.
That's yeah. I'll be at the facility if something goes down network wise, or if these computers just aren't connecting for some reason. I'm the one who has to
Yeah.
figure it out. A lot of it
Okay.
is your keyboard isn't working, so we're gonna get you a new keyboard or something like that. But
Right.
there is a lot of little intricacies behind it. So
Cool. So that's the school you also graduated from, and you graduated with you said it was a trade school. So what was that? Just in what
it was
specifically?
a certification in IT. Ended up
Okay.
it's not a diploma because it wasn't an associate's or anything like that.
Right.
It was 900 hours, 900 credit hours of just hands on training. So
Okay. That's cool. So obviously, it is working. It's not like one of those just throwaway degrees. So that's definitely or degree or certificate or diploma, whatever it ends up being. It's not. I mean, it's working for you, which is good.
yeah. One of the things that really fed into that was I had to, on my own time, study for whatever certification I wanted. So right now I'm studying
Okay.
for the Cisco networking and switching certification. Um, so it's a lot of just building my own brand and adding things to my resume that'll make me more interesting to all these different companies I'm applying for. So
Right. Um. So you work with ETG. You run your own company. You have your day job, and you also help out at MES. So how do you I know you say you like to work and you like to have your, be very work oriented, but how do you manage that? Is there like a system? Like what do you do to keep all that in line?
on my normal day to day, I just kind of take it as it is. I know I've got to do these things, so I get everything that I need to get done, and
Right.
then kind of by the time I'm done with that, I'm running into whatever I have to do next. But a lot of it doesn't feel like work because I love production and I love technology.
Right.
So I'm kind of at this point in my life where I'm doing all of this work, but it doesn't feel like I'm doing any of it because I'm just so in love with everything that I'm doing. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much just my normal day to day.
Yeah. That's it's definitely a good place to be, especially for somebody who doesn't mind working, and especially since you're in every role you have is in some type of in a field that you're interested in some way, shape, or form. So that's definitely good for progression for yourself.
That's
Um,
definitely what pushed me to go to a trade school instead of continuing college because I was sitting in physics classes and I was sitting in these math classes and I was getting good grades just being bored out of my mind.
yeah,
So I took like a technology elective and I was like, I just want to do this class over and over again every day. So
right.
I ended up at a trade school and that's exactly what it was. It was I'm setting this up or I'm building this server and that's what I ended up now that's what I do as a career is doing that. So
Yeah. Kind of wish I did trade school. I was just done with college. I walked out one day and didn't look back. I would like I regret to some extent, but I don't know. I wish I walked away with some type of degree, but you made a good decision and obviously it's paying off.
everyone just has different
Yeah.
routes in life. Like even just in my team alone, there's two people in college and there's one person working full time. The other one's still really trying to figure out what he wants to do and how he wants to get off of his feet. And I guess that diversity is what really builds each other because we're all from different backgrounds. We all have different life experiences. So we can all have insight on all the different routes and all the different ways to succeed in life. So
Yeah. Yep, I agree with that. So back to downtime. What do you mentioned, you don't have your website up yet and you do whatever your business card, people contact you through that, whether you hand that out. What kind of what has worked for you in the past in client acquisition or I don't know how much you've done of it and since it's been such a short time so far, but what has worked with you for you guys for client acquisition and building those new leads and making those new relationships?
It's really just communication with everyone that you think would be interested. Um,
Yeah,
this Sweet 16 that we're doing right now is it's a family member of somebody that we've worked with in the past. And it's really just like if you present yourself in a very professional manner and you kill whatever you're doing for one person, that's going to spread to anybody else. They're going
right.
to be like, Tony was really good and he took care of my daughter and he got all of these really cool pictures. And right when she threw the bouquet at the wedding, they got a perfect shot of it. Things like that, and just really keeping yourself professional and building your own brand. It just the word flows to all the other people that are in the same situation as they are. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How many if you know off the top of your head, how many like non esports type projects have you worked on?
a lot. I don't really know the number off the top of my head.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
quite
it's
a bit. Okay,
yeah, at least like maybe a couple dozen.
okay,
A lot of it we don't really. It's really it's a lot of personal things, so we don't really
sure.
advertise that at all. Like it's not on
Yeah.
Twitter. It's nothing like that. It'll be like we shot a wedding or something like that, and we just send all the footage straight over, and we'll add that to our decks and our portfolio for whenever we show a potential client what we can do for them. So
What is your favorite if it's esports outside of esports? What is your favorite type of shoot or like project to work on with a client?
birthday parties are very passionate because there's if it's somebody that's younger, it's all of their friends having a really good time, and then the parents and the cousins and everyone just hanging out with each other, and it's very personal, which is
Yeah,
something like that's my favorite thing to capture because seeing people's personal moments when you're from the outside, a lot of people are just like, oh wow, this family is really close or this and that. But you really get to see all the different dynamics from the family. This person is this person's cousin, and then this they've got this many uncles and aunts, and all of these people are all related somehow. So
yeah, and that genuine feel is definitely always good and post when you go back and look at it or you send it over to the client. The genuineness is always it always works.
you get to just see different dynamics that you're not really used to. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so I guess as a piggyback question, is there and this one can be in esports, is there a particular client that you've worked with that's been your favorite experience overall?
I wouldn't say that I have
No?
any particular experience that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Um, I do love seeing how I've grown. So like some of my favorite videos to look back at are like the Sector 6 ad I made in 2015 or whatever. I love looking back at how different I would do things now.
Right.
So like the other day in our office, we were all sitting down and we just started putting up old videos that we did or old film festival submissions that we had. And we all kind of just laughed at it because like thinking about the different ways that we shoot now and how we have different creative touches compared to how we did back in 2012, 2013, 2014 and on. So
Yeah. I think that's definitely valuable to especially because you archive all that and you go back and you look at it and aside from the fact that you see, "Oh, I've come this far," it's, "I wish I did this way," and then you kinda feel motivated to go back and either recreate that shot or that, scene or whatever it ends up being, and you do it again, and it's either better it's better in your eyes or and then, you do it you kinda repeat that process, year over year. I do that with my photography every once in a while too.
one thing that we make sure we do is like we never delete any footage and we never really lose anything because potentially a shot that we shot for this company right now isn't going to work out, but we can look back at this shot later when we're looking to film for another company and we can replicate it and we'll show them how it worked out and what we can really build toward because just because it didn't make it into the final cut doesn't mean it's not portfolio worthy or it's not ready to be used in some other way. So
Right. What do you use to save all that? Because I would expect over time that gets pretty hefty, especially
uh,
with 5 people.
I built a file server.
Uh, okay.
Yeah, that's just coming from my IT background. We have a file
Yeah,
server in our office that stores everything, and then we also have all of our own personal footage on our external drives.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's all within arm's reach for the most part.
Yeah, so we have all of our footage that we're really passionate about, and then if we have somebody doing a cut for us, they can just grab it off the file server so that it's really easy to get access to.
Cool. Um, so all projects aside or put together or however you want to look at it, where do you what are you? You said you're 18, 19,
18, yeah.
18. Where do you see this is a tough question to ask an 18-year-old. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I see
Yeah.
myself hopefully surrounded by the same people I'm surrounded by now. Hopefully in an office that's a little bit bigger, and hopefully just doing this production stuff full time instead of having to put it on kind of the side burner while I'm doing other things.
Okay, so this is your end goal. This is what you really really want to do is I mean, I guess that makes sense to run your own company is what most people want to do. Um, and you want it to continue to be what it is right now, or is there any like expansion that you want to have done to it, or like a different type of production style, or like whatever that might be? Is there anything different that you would do in 10 years, or that's what your goal that you're working towards is?
All of my guys and I, we just love journalism and we love telling stories. So
Right,
that's something we definitely like to push more toward, which is kind of like why the reality show would be really cool to do and have us shoot.
right.
So I would love to get it more towards something like that. Us doing a lot of journalism, and this event happened, or this happened in South Jersey. How can we show up the whole world how the the aftermath is, or how people are supporting each other?
I like that. I think I think that's a good, you know, you have a pretty good roadmap. Obviously, 10 years from now is a while, so you have some time to get there. But I think you're headed in the right direction. Obviously, I mean you're only 1 year out of school, and you got a bunch of maybe is it even 1 year out of school?
I graduated high school less than a year ago.
Yeah, yeah. 1 year, less than 1 year out of high school, and you already got your eggs in however many baskets, and I think you're definitely on the right track.
I
So
appreciate that, man. I appreciate it, especially coming from you. You were one of the first people that I really looked up to in the industry.
yeah,
Um, you were one of the first companies that I ever really met. I didn't really know too much about all the different companies in the industry at the time until I showed up to that event and you tweeted back at me after I posted the clip, and you had over 1,000 followers, and then that tweet ended up getting like 100 likes or something like that, and that just like blew my mind. Then G Fuel retweeted it, and yeah, it was just it was a very surreal moment where I felt like I was going down the right path.
yeah. I definitely think you are going down the right path. Now, knowing you, like, I mean, I not that we're not friends, but like I only know you as much as I know you. We met that one time. We talk back and forth every so often, but in the amount that I know you, you definitely, you're heading in the right direction. You're gonna do some really solid things.
I
So I'm excited
appreciate
to
that,
see
man. I
continue to
appreciate
watch
it.
it. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, I mean I covered the questions I had for you. I think that's probably kind of where we could wrap it up. Do you have any like closing remarks or statements or questions or anything that you wanted to say that I didn't cue or anything like that?
Well, I just really want to say thank you to you.
Yeah.
I keep talking about how much I look up to you in Sector Six and everything, but I guess like nobody that is watching or listening is really going to understand that. Other than what I've said,
Hmm.
there was times in the middle of the night where I'd say, "Hey Zach, have a great day, man. Thank you for everything, and you're killing it," or whatever. But that's stuff that nobody on the outside really would ever see. So that's
Right.
why this like the opportunity to talk to you and really just get in front of this microphone and communicate to everyone else what's been going on in my life and in esports is something that I just really appreciate. So I just want to say thank you for letting me get on and everything.
Oh, no, not a problem. In 10 years, when Downtime Visuals is killing it, just as we were talking about, we'll do another one of these, and we'll talk about it again if I'm still doing the podcast in 10 years.
We'll start a new podcast in 10 years
Yeah,
just to talk about
yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
it.
Um, yeah. So, oh, you know what? You have to. I know you said your website isn't up and ready yet, but you got to plug yourself somehow. I don't know if you guys have Instagram for Downtime or your personal stuff, but something. Give me something for people to find you at.
So my personal Twitter is Tony Ramos Media. Um, just spelled straight out like that. There's no underscores or anything like that. And we have a Twitter right now. We have an Instagram and everything too, but we're waiting to do like a big launch before we go crazy. So our Twitter is at Downtime Visuals. Um,
Cool.
we're really we want to do one big launch before we do anything on individual things. So we want to make sure the website's up before we start posting and going crazy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I agree with that. It's a good tactic. Cool. So yeah, I guess that's it. That is episode 4 of the After Hours podcast. If you're listening, however you're listening to this, please make sure to follow, subscribe, leave a comment, like whatever it is on your platform, and let me know how we did, and tell Tony you listened and that you enjoyed it. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one.